Hey everyone, it's Alison Heikkila. Thank you so much for joining me. We are going to play with some alcohol inks today. I have two colors here. We have Glacier and Pistachio. I've got my alcohol blending solution. I've got some Jot poster board paper. This is from Dollar Tree. This is my preferred paper to use when I'm playing with alcohol inks. And then I have this fabulous embossing folder and die set. We're not going to use the dies today. This is called Refined Snowflakes. It's from Simon Says Stamp. You don't have to use this one. Honeybee has an absolutely stunning snowflake embossing folder that I really need to add to my collection. There are other ones out there that are also beautiful, but this is the one that I have. We're going to do a wintry card today. So let's start playing. I'm going to start by opening up my bottles here. I'm going to keep the appropriate cap with the appropriate bottle. And then I'm going to start with my blending solution. This is the way I like to start when I'm playing with alcohol inks. I put some of the blending solution across the panel. And then I'm going to drop some color here and there. And then I have my ink blower tool. This is different from what's available on the market now. I will link the one that is available in my description. This one was originally used for markers to turn it into an airbrush. But the one that's out now is absolutely perfect for what we're doing. So I'm just going to go back and forth and cover this panel with the ink. This is bigger than an A2 size card base. And that's so that if I get any lines on the side, I can cut them off, or if there's a certain area I like better than another, I can remove it and not worry about not having enough of a panel anymore. This is looking pretty. Kind of want to break this up a little bit more, so we're going to use that blending solution some more. Go back in and go back and forth. The trick to doing wispy alcohol ink is to go back and forth and try to avoid lots of harsh lines. A couple of harsh lines are okay, but you see how it just kind of blends and moves around together like that? I love that. Put a little bit more pistachio. Now I'm doing this in a very specific order. I had posted a video a few months back on a similar technique to what we're doing today with alcohol inks and embossing folders, but I did the embossing folder first. And then I tried to use this Jot poster board paper with the alcohol inks, and it was disastrous. I'll try to remember to link that video in the description below. But make sure you check that out because, man, that was a learning experience. And that's one of the things that I really love about, you know, being creative and artsy and all of that is the experimentation and how sometimes things are just epic fails, and that's okay. So this is getting there. Still think that we need to do some more work to it. So I've got my isopropyl, oh, that's not it. That's my cleaner. I've got isopropyl alcohol here. And I'm going to just open this up and tap the nozzle and get some really pretty cells happening. This is going to break up the color. Alcohol blending solution blends. Isopropyl breaks it up. See how nice that is? It makes it a lot more interesting. I think that that is pretty good. I like it. All right, let's let this dry. I'll give you a close-up first. That's really pretty. I like it. It's a little stripy, but I don't mind it. All right, let's let it dry. Our panel is pretty dry now. And one of my favorite things to do when I'm working with alcohol ink is to grab some Deco foil from Therm and go over the areas that remain tacky. This happens because I go pretty heavy with the alcohol blending solution and then it doesn't dry completely. It just stays tacky. And I could use an anti-static powder tool like what you would use before you emboss an area with embossing powder. But I prefer this because you can create some really beautiful magic with it. So this is the Iridescent Deco foil. And I've got a small piece here. And we're just going to take this and put it on top of our panel and burnish it with our finger. If you don't want to burnish it with your finger, you can use like a bone folder, something like that. But I find it to be easier to just use my finger. But do whatever you're comfortable with. And then we're going to lift it up, and I'll show you in a second what we get. Any of the areas that stay sticky will grab that foil and it'll stay there. Take a look. Do you see that? Oh, look at that. See those flashes of color? Right there, right there. Oh, I love it. I love it, I love it. So this is a really great way to get rid of the stick if you're heavy-handed like me with the blending solution and get such gorgeous effects. If you don't have any sticky areas, maybe try going a little heavier with the blending solution and then see if you like this technique, because man, it really just adds something special. Now, of course, you can get, metallic looks when you use the alloys, but this is just a good way to kind of solve a problem and add some really pretty things. Wow, I love it. Okay, so that actually isn't as tacky as I thought it was. Look at those flashes. Okay, moving on, we are going to take our embossing folder. I'm going to stick this in there, and I'm not cutting it down yet. It's still pretty big. We will cut it down. And I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. Just want to square that up a little bit. Here we go. Okay, now this is a 3D embossing folder, so make sure you use the appropriate sandwich for your die cut machine. And now we're going to pull this out. Sometimes it sticks a little bit because of that alcohol ink, and you'll see that I have a lot of transfer here. No worries, we can just use some isopropyl alcohol to quickly clean that up. Got a cloth from scrapbook.com here, and you see that it becomes perfectly clean. So don't worry about getting any alcohol ink on your embossing folder. Now let's take a look at what we have. Oh, look at how pretty that is. That is really nice. But we're going to step it up a little bit because I want those snowflakes to show even more. So I've got this sanding block. This is from Coordinations. Do they even exist anymore? I'm not sure. It's just a sanding block. There are plenty of them on the market. You can get them at like nail salons and stuff too. This just happens to be the one that I have. It's a foam. And then there's Velcro on here with sandpaper. And we're just going to very carefully go over the top. I don't want to push too hard. And you will create some dust. So if you have breathing issues, also because we're using alcohol ink, make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area. You can even do this part outside, but just be careful when you're working with alcohol inks or making dust the way I am right now. We're just going to make this stand out a bit more. And you'll see that the snowflakes don't go all the way down to the bottom. That's because my panel was bigger than the folder's design. We're going to cut that off, so you can see that those snowflakes are really starting to show. Again, this is a 3D embossing folder, so there are some highs, there are some mids, and there are some lows. So if you don't see all of the areas coming to life, that's okay. You could just kind of use a corner or something and try to get in there if that's what you want to do. And then we're going to just... Where's my cloth? Here it is. Just kind of wipe up that dust. You can use a Swiffer for this too. Just get rid of all of that dust. And look at that. Isn't that so pretty? Okay, I'm going to trim this down real quick so that it is 4 by 5 1/4, and then we'll keep going. For my sentiment, I am going to use the Season's Greetings. This is the Home for Christmas Sentiments. This is from Heikkila and Spellbinders. This is a great set. It came out last year, and I have my BetterPress plate here and the die that goes with it. So we're going to set this up in my BetterPress. If you don't have one of these yet, I try not to be a pusher of products. I always say use what you've got, use what you want. It doesn't have to be the same thing, but I tell you, the BetterPress system is so fantastic. Okay, so I am going to do a little trick that my friend Justine taught me. Justine Dvorak. So I'm going to put my, whoops, that moved. That's okay. That's fine. It can stay there. Got my magnet here from Glassboard Studios, and I picked that up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this down with some washi tape. And this way I know that my die or my BetterPress plate is in the right spot with the paper. Check this out. Whoop, it came off because of my the glass board. Okay, we're going to go like this. We're going to go like this. We're going to press this down, lift this up, and now that plate is in the right spot. Okay, I've got Paradise VersaFine Clear ink, and I'm going to carefully ink this up. I don't want to move my plate at all because then the paper won't necessarily be lined up. Just going to tap that a few times, place this back on top, and I'm going to run it through my die cut machine. Okay, let's see how that turned out. Perfect. This is cotton cardstock from Spellbinders so that I could get that nice deep impression. You don't have to use cotton cardstock, but if you want that letterpress impression, then that's the best stuff to use. Can you see how it's inset? So fabulous. Okay, I'm going to clean this up, and then I am going to die cut our sentiment. Here's our sentiments, and doesn't that look so pretty on there? Oh, I really like that. Here's my card base, and we could leave it white. It's not bad. I don't hate it. You guys know that if you've watched my videos before, I prefer to color my card bases, but in this case, it's not bad. I don't mind. My first thought was that I was going to go in with some blue and green ink, like cracked pistachio and, I don't know, maybe suede shoes from Catherine Pooler, and ink around the edges. But I think instead, because there's not a whole lot of that iridescent foil showing, not as much as I was hoping, I think what I want to do instead is go in with some hologram embossing powder. This is from Imagine. I don't think it's available anymore. Again, use what you have. You could skip this step completely. You can leave it white. You can ink the edges, but I really want some more shine. So what I'm going to do is move this off to the side. I've got my VersaMark ink, and we are going to ink the edges of two sides. Not a lot. I actually don't mind if some of that white is going to wind up showing. So I'm just kind of rubbing it across the edge there. And then I'm going to take my powder after I put this scrap paper underneath, and we're going to dump it onto those two sides and heat set it. And then we'll do the other two sides. Just like this. So I don't love that little blob that's here. Hold on. I can't get this to stand up. This here, it's a little too much, so I'm going to remove that. Move this off to the side for a minute. I should really put it back in the pouch, but that's okay. I'm living on the edge today. All right, I'm going to turn on my heat tool. Let this warm up for a minute, and then we'll heat up these edges and then repeat the process on the other two sides. Can you see it melting? Check that out. Isn't that so pretty? There's my panel. Here it is. It just works really well with the iridescent foil. And see that white showing? I don't mind it. I like that. So I'm going to do the other two sides now. Let's finish this card off. I'm going to remove my magnets. I glued it to my card base. Look at that shine. I love it. I put some foam tape on the back of my sentiment, and I did not remove all of the adhesive paper. This is from scrapbook.com. This is their 1mm foam strips. You can get them in other heights as well as black, which is super cool. I have that. I'm going to stick this over here. I find that I always put things in the lower right corner. Do you do that? Do you have like a spot that you use? I've got some holographic sequins. This is from a company that sadly is no longer in existence, but once again, use what you have. If you've got some sequins that you can use that matches, then go for it. I really just wanted holographic because of all the sparkle we've got going on in this card now. Looking for another little guy. Here we go. Just going to try to add a few here and there, like so. I think that looks good. We're going to take some On Point glue. You can use Barely Arts, but I just like my On Point because it starts off clear, it ends up clear, it holds really well. So I've got my jewel picker in this hand, my glue and pokey tool in this hand, and I'm going to pick this up. So I'm right-handed, which is why the glue is in that hand. And the pokey tool helps me release the sequin from the jewel picker. Sometimes it's hard to get them to come off of that. So I find that it's easier with the pokey tool. See, I should not have put the glue there. We need it somewhere where it's flat. I don't really like it there. We'll put it here. That works. And I'm tucking this underneath because I like that look. It makes the sequins kind of interact with the sentiment a bit more. All right, guys, that's our card for today. Little bit of sparkle, not too much. Not that there's ever too much. Lots of texture, some fun colors, and that's it. I hope you learned something today. I hope you give this a try. Let me know in the comments if you do. I will be back very soon with another video. I have everything linked in the description box below, as well as a suggested video that you might want to watch at the end. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'll see you again soon. Be well, stay safe. Peace out.